Good morning, Rhema CC listeners, and welcome to yet another Sunday. I'm Lindy Jones, your Sunday morning host, and I hope you're having a great start to your day. Let me ask, are you planning on attending the upcoming Jeremy Camp concert? Have you got your tickets already? I'm ready. I've got mine and would love to see you there. But you know what would be even better? Well, let me tell you. Now is the time that we here at Rhema CC are starting to focus in on our November appeal, which happens to be seed time as our theme, and we'd love to give you the opportunity to sow a blessing into a family you know who would love to see Jeremy Camp in concert. So do you happen to know someone who's doing it tough or who's gone out of their way to bless others? Here's your chance to bless them. Let us know why you'd like to nominate them and we'll choose the winners. You can select the Late Macquarie concert. That's at Avondale University, and that happens to be on Friday the 10th of November. Or you also have the option of the Sydney concert, which is at Hillsong Convention Centre on Monday 13th of November. Head to our website, rhema.cc, and click on the link below the Jeremy Camp graphic. You'll see that there to make your nomination. Then on Wednesday 8th of November, we'll pick the winners and send them their tickets by email. What a truly awesome gift this might be to a family out there who just need to hear that someone has seen them and thinks they're pretty fantastic. Now, to move into more of the Sunday morning usuals, I mentioned last week that November was going to be the month of God stories. Selfishly, I was thinking more about how to make each week stretch out a little without too much input from myself, because it's set to be yet another crazy month for me personally. So I was trying to think ahead and work out how to make others work harder than me by sharing their journeys, personally and spiritually. The less talking I had to do, I had decided, meant listeners' ears would be greeted with voices other than mine, and the pressure would be somewhat off me to fill in the gaps while holding on to God's leading and rolling with whatever He called. I thought it would be kind of cool to sit back and let others do more than me. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of. I guess there's some truth to that. And I thought I had everything planned, ready to go. But alas, life being life, the past few weeks have been messy. Messier than normal. It's actually been kind of crazy. Yet it's been both a positive and negative crazy. But in the messiness, my husband and I have been more irritated with each other or by each other. And maybe I've been more irritated by him, at least. And all in all, I probably haven't been too enjoyable to live with. I won't make any comments about him, but I will openly state that I've been probably quite painful to live with. And this far into our marriage, I can finally say that in some ways, I think that might be a good sign that I'm finally comfortable enough to be myself completely with him. If I'm agitated, I have firstly learnt how to say, hey, I'm agitated. And I trust that truth won't mean he will walk away or feel the tension even more. He's still learning me and I'm still learning how to be with him. Don't ever be fooled enough to believe that divorce doesn't have a lifetime impact. As you know, I've been divorced and am remarried. It does have an impact, and it can take years to build trust in those around us, so much so that we forget it's okay to genuinely just be ourselves. I'm finally learning the blessing of being able to be myself without fear, that the ways in which I have experienced pain previously will somehow creep back into my life and I'll be forced to face them once again. A few weeks ago, Mike, my husband, made a statement that has stayed with me. I honestly can't remember what we were talking about, so I don't remember the context behind it, but I believe it was in reference to some difficult personalities that we've come across from time to time. He said, I was thinking this morning, any one of us can be in pain, but it doesn't mean we have to be a pain. And he is right. But pain certainly can impact how we see the world and how we interact with others accordingly. When we hurt, we often don't see how we can drag others along with us because pain can start to control us and alter our experiences with everything. When we think of a birthing lady, a lady in active labour, I'm sure midwives out there will be nodding their head as they hear me say the words, they see it all. Because bringing new life into the world comes with an intolerable amount of physical and even psychological pain. But the moment that child enters a mother's arms, somehow the pain vanishes. Somehow it all becomes all right. For some perfect reason, God has designed new life to be generally, I know not every woman experiences this, but the ultimate joy of new life for most overrides the pain that was experienced in the process to creating it and bringing it into fruition. Some of us live with pain on a daily basis. Some of us experience pain that we cannot escape, and it can be crippling, debilitating even. For those who are experiencing physical pain like that, it can lead to social isolation. That was interesting, because getting out and doing life as you wish can be just too hard. So the problems start to multiply, and you find yourself dealing with double or triple the dilemma of what you originally had. It makes sense that those experiencing physical pain constantly, the natural response to that may eventually lead to the tendency to become a pain. Dealing with chronic pain can start to impact mental health, not to mention every other avenue of life. So to those of you out there who suffer with chronic pain on a daily basis, I want to say that I'm sorry that you do. And I'm sorry that sometimes we overlook the things that could make your life easier, often because we are only thinking about what is in our very immediate world. The things that are right in front of us. I sincerely mean that. I'm sorry that you deal with pain so intensely. But this leads to our special guest for today's show. Now, this lady has an incredible accent. You'll be thinking you've tuned into a radio station, probably from somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the US, if you like. She has both the accent and the heart of someone from the Bible Belt of the US, loves people with big, wide and open arms, and has, in my opinion, done a pretty fantastic job in raising her kids. Many say that the role of a mother-in-law is simply to be continuously meddling, annoying and generally painful. I had to throw that one in there, considering we're just beginning to discuss pain, and many associate that with their in-laws. Wow, my future kids-in-law are going to love having me. My mother-in-law is none of those. She doesn't meddle, she doesn't annoy, and she could never be described as painful. But she does live with pain, chronic pain. So while I have her here in Australia with me, I decided to jump on the opportunity for gaining some insight into her world, in the hope that those out there who are in a similar situation or scenarios of Carolyn and live with constant chronic pain might just find a ray of sunshine and a sparkle of hope in hearing some of her story, her God story, because unbelievably, she never allows her faith to waver, regardless of the pain she deals with daily. Carolyn, thank you for coming in today to do this with me as a special guest. I know it's incredibly uncomfortable, but I believe that you have so much insight to offer, and I really appreciate that you're willing to pass on some of it. So again, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me and for the compliments that you gave.
Oh, you can pay me later. Can I ask you to share a little bit about yourself, where you're from exactly, and what sort of pain you have and continue to deal with, and how long would you say that you've been living with it?
I live in Kentucky in the United States, and I've had pain for probably 30 years or more. First started with a sciatic nerve pain when my youngest child was, I was carrying her, and it has worked up. Right now I have asthma, sciatic nerve pain, and I have fibromyalgia, I have neuropathy, and I have osteoarthritis all over my body. So a lot of different things. And you learn to work with each one in different ways. It's kind of day by day. People say, how are you feeling? And I say, it depends on what time of the day you ask me, because you can be feeling really in pain for one moment, and the next moment, the next few minutes, you can be at ease with it a little bit. So you learn what works for you, and different people it works different with different people. So it's kind of a day-by-day thing that you have to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I genuinely find it hard to know when Carolyn is in I find it hard myself to know that Carolyn is in extreme pain. It's so hard to hear, especially if it's someone that we care for, if they're struggling so badly, we just kind of feel helpless. Maybe a sense of powerlessness powerlessness in the situation, and that makes it feel somewhat defeating at times. But I want to encourage you guys, our listeners, to continue praying for each other, particularly for those in your life who experience chronic pain. We're going to take a break for a bit, but we'll be back shortly-ish to talk to Carolyn about her experience more and her battle with constant and chronic pain, and ultimately her faith response. This is Moving Through Me with Joshua Micah. Good morning and welcome back to Rhema CC Coasties. If you're listening in this morning, I'm Lindy Jones and I have a special guest this morning, Carolyn Jones, my mother-in-law. Yes, some may be thinking, your mother-in-law? Why your mother-in-law? Well, fortunately for me, Carolyn isn't your stereotypical mother-in-law. She offers wisdom and insight and genuinely cares about her family, always ensuring prayer is offered for those she loves, and has dedicated a specific day of the week for each of her grandchildren to really pray in specific detail. I've told several people this week, and told them more than that it was incredibly kind of me to make things easy for her and have 7 kids, one for each day, just to stay busy. So you're very welcome, Carolyn. I'm happy to do that for you. But back to business here. Carolyn, you've discussed your battle with chronic pain and the fact that you've been battling with it for about 30 years. Can I ask you a little bit about your faith in all this, and how does physical pain impact your spiritual life?
It's hard sometimes, and you get down sometimes, but the Lord helps you to get back up and to carry on. Each person has to handle it in a different way, I think, and you have to find what works for you. I know when I have to stop.
Yep.
I usually go from one thing to the next because I'm very active, but I know myself when I have to stop and rest.
Yep.
Sometimes when the pain gets really bad, I go off by myself and have a cry, and then I can handle the pain much better. And the Lord helps you through each day, one day at a time.
Yeah, so encouraging. And sometimes we just need that reminder, don't we?
Yes.
Okay, so this is kind of along what you've just said, but what would you say to those out there who find themselves battling with pain on a similar level to you, and how would you encourage them to stay true to their faith despite the pain that they feel?
Find something that works for you. People are going to give you all kind of advice. They're going to recommend this cream and that cream and all kinds of things to you.
Yeah.
But you have to find, you can try different things, but you have to find what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what works for someone else might not work for you at all. So you have to do your research and find out what works for you.
Yeah, great.
And look to God to, first thing in the morning, to start the day off, to just thank God that you're able to stand up that morning.
Yep.
Sometimes I think the Lord has given me a nursing home ministry, and I thank God for that, because when I don't feel like, when my arthritis is hurting so bad, I don't feel like getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
If I get up and go on to the nursing home, I feel much better when I leave there.
Yes, it's a refocus in
Because you see people that are worse off than you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're thankful to the Lord that you can do what you can.
Yeah.
And just keep trying to do what you can. Don't give up. Don't lay down and give up, because pain's got you then.
Absolutely.
But keep going.
Yeah, great
keep
advice.
pushing. Arthritis, you have to keep moving.
Yeah.
And so if you're moving slow or fast, just keep moving.
Yeah, awesome advice. That's huge. You know, I know it may seem somewhat distant from thought for those who are living with it daily, but I often think of Jesus, and this is actually very similar to what you're just saying, in those moments prior to his crucifixion as he was waiting on that cross to die. It is that changeover in thought. Thorns placed in his head, nails struck through his hands and his feet. It makes me genuinely uncomfortable to even think of it. The physical torture that he endured, I honestly can't comprehend how much physical pain he had to go through. And all for us to bring the prophecies of the Old Testament into light with the introduction of the New Testament. In that moment on the cross, the pain that was experienced and endured, the way the Father turned his face away because it hurt too much to see, all of it, it's an extremely powerful and overwhelming scene to comprehend. It was no longer about sacrificing a lamb, but him, Jesus, showing the world that he was the Lamb. To change the way the world played the game, he endured the unimaginable pain, purely to ensure we had a chance at sitting with our Creator and being able to do it pain-free forever. The sacrifice of Christ gave us a chance for ultimate freedom. Pain then, guys, shows us that there may be something beautiful waiting on the other side. If you're struggling with physical pain right now, I am praying for you. In fact, I'm asking God right now, dear God, you know who is tuning in here this morning. We're not a station who believe in pure coincidence. No, we know you have purpose and you work through all things. And wow, I thank you for using this radio station to reach those who need the assurance of your protection and your comfort due to the physical pain they endure daily. To remind them that you bring all things together for those who love him. And though that doesn't always mean physical pain, you do know what you choose to do with the experience and develop each of us through the hard stuff. So God, thank you for loving each of us enough to allow Jesus to enter the world, transform our understanding of the Lamb, and ultimately give us a chance to experience forever with you. And it's a big amen to that one. And with that, I will leave you for a bit. Carolyn and I will be back before too long. You're listening to Rhema CC. I'm Lindy Jones, and this is All of Me by Ali and Leighton. I'll see you soon. Good morning once again, and welcome back. If you've been listening this morning, I'm Lindy Jones, your Rhema CC Sunday morning host. Thanks for allowing me to play a part in your days. I'm praying that this is going to be another fantastic day for you. Hey, before we get too far into the next level of our conversation on living with pain, I want to remind you about our current Rhema CC opportunity to win. Let me ask, are you planning on attending the upcoming Jeremy Camp concert? Have you got your tickets already? I'm ready, I've got mine, and I'd love to see you there, but you know what would be even better? Well, let me tell you. Now is the time that we here at Rhema CC are starting to focus in on our November appeal, which happens to be seed time. And we'd love to give you the opportunity to sow a blessing into a family you know who would love to see Jeremy Camp in concert. Do you happen to know someone or a family who are doing it a little bit tough at the moment, or maybe they've gone out of their way to bless others? Here's your chance to bless them. Let us know why you'd like to nominate them, and we'll choose the winners. You can select the Lake Macquarie concert, that's at Avondale University, and that's on Friday the 10th of November, or the Sydney concert that happens to be in Hillsong Convention Centre, that's on Monday the 13th of November. We have the best of really both worlds here on the Central Coast, don't we? Head to our website, rhema.cc, and click on the link below the Jeremy Camp graphic to make your nomination. Then on Wednesday the 8th of November, we'll pick the winners and send them their tickets by email. It really is that easy, and what a blessing this could be for a well-deserving family. Now, to get back to our conversation with Carolyn, my mother-in-law, I joked earlier that some tend to think that when discussing pain, the idea of mother-in-law isn't too far away. I do tend to wonder what type of mother-in-law I'm likely to be, but I hope the concept of painful isn't one that is thought of too often when my children's spouses think of me. Time will tell. However, my mother-in-law doesn't fit the stereotype. She's in no way painful, but she does live with chronic pain, and she's a battler in the true sense of the word. So I grabbed the opportunity to interview her this morning, as she is one person who has every reason to question her faith and never appears to. So my question to you then, Carolyn, is, does it? Does your faith ever waver? Does the pain that you live with daily impact the way you understand and value your faith and the God who created you?
Sometimes you do stop and think, God, why is this happening to me? Why are you, seem like you put a lot of pain on me, you know. My mother says I've got all the pain for the whole family because no one else in my family has ever had any of this. But God helps you through each day. Yeah. And sometimes it helps to find someone that you can do something for. God can work through you doing something for someone else and relieve some of the pain that you feel, because you take your mind off the pain that you have and your mind is on the other person. And so you forget about, even for a short time, the pain. And sometimes when you're living with chronic pain, just a short break from the pain
Yeah, sure.
helps out a whole lot.
Yep.
And the Lord gives you those so many moments. Sometimes when I'm working outside in my flowers and I can just have a breeze come through, and you just say, thank you, Lord, for that breeze. I needed that right then.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is with pain. Sometimes you just need that little short break,
Yep.
and then you can handle it a lot easier. And the Lord gives you that pain, that short breaks every once in a while.
Yeah, that's great. How long have you been a Christian, and why do you choose Jesus?
Well, I'm 77. I accepted the Lord when I was 9 years old, so that's been a while back.
Little while.
A little while back, yes. I wasn't baptized right away because I was always terrified of water.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I knew that being baptized, I had to go down into the water.
Yeah.
But the Lord helped me to get through that, and He's been with me every step of the way. You can always look back and see how the Lord's led you in different ways.
Yep.
It's hard to see when you're in it, but then you can look back and see, yeah, the Lord was with me through that.
Absolutely.
He helped me get through it.
Yeah. Very encouraging. How does it impact your everyday life, though?
You have to slow down.
Yep.
And as we get older, that adds to it because you slow down because of age and the pain. I do a little bit, and then I stop and rest, and then I do a little more.
Yep.
Sometimes I can, like if I'm doing something standing up, I can do something sitting down for a while,
Yeah.
and then I can do something standing up again.
Sure.
So you do different jobs for short times, and you learn when you have to stop and take a break.
Yeah, okay.
And have to. With my asthma, I have trouble breathing too, and I breathe heavy all the time, just about it. When people say, "Don't you need to stop?" No, I know when I need to stop.
Yeah, okay.
And you have to learn that for yourself.
Yep.
When it's best for you.
Yep. Call time out.
But you
Yep.
can do little jobs and slow down. You don't have to go as fast as you did before you had the pain.
Yeah. I think that's...
And that's hard sometimes to accept that I can't do as much as I used to be able to do.
Yeah, and even to learn, I think, would be difficult. Just
Yeah.
what are my limits? Like all that sort of stuff.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break for a bit. But before we do, just a reminder that we have Greg Laurie making an appearance here this morning at 8:30. That's with New Beginnings. We also have church on the radio at 10 a.m, so feel free to stick around with us for that one. Right now, though, this is Next to Me by Jordan Feliz. Enjoy. And a huge welcome back to you. You're listening to Rhema CC, and this is Lindy Jones, your Sunday morning host. I mentioned last week that November was going to be a month of God stories. Now, these God stories might be about conversion, but they might also be about as simple as how God is still moving in the lives of others today. I introduced you to Carolyn, my mother-in-law. Carolyn is visiting us from the US. She arrived Sunday, wasn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And has finally had the chance to meet our youngest kiddo after he was born right as COVID hit in 2020. And I literally mean to the very day everything started to shut down for the first time. 12:06 a.m, our kid number 7 entered the world on the very day. Literally, everything stood still. So he missed out on a lot, and his grandparents did too. I guess that was, and probably still is, a different type of pain. Can I ask you about that, Carolyn? You've battled with physical pain, but emotional pain is something that every one of us battle with from time to time. It can't be easy having family across the globe. I know you and I spoke briefly about it during the week, and you mentioned that there are ways that you manage to cope with being away from part of your family purely because of distance. So how do you deal with that reality?
A lot of people ask me constantly, how do you stand for your child to be clear across, right around the world, clear around the world? And it helps to know that your child is in God's will and that your child is happy.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if he always is.
And that makes it a lot easier. And there are times that I just long for that grandma hugging.
Yep.
You know, us grandmas like to do a lot of hugging.
Yep, understandably.
And most of my grandchildren live in Australia. I only have 2 that live in America and 7 in Australia. So I miss out on a lot of grandma hugging, and sometimes I long for that. But then to just see pictures of them on the internet,
Yeah.
that's one good thing about the internet. I can see pictures of them throughout their life, and that helps to see how
What's
they're growing
happening.
and
Yeah.
what's happening in their lives.
Yeah.
And I try to keep in touch as much as I can with what's happening in their lives,
Yeah.
as well as what's happening in my life. So,
Yeah.
so
We're
that
very
helps.
blessed, aren't we, to be able to just have that, I'm terrible with technology, but that is one blessing that's come from
Well,
it.
I'm awful with technology too,
Yeah.
but that helps
Yeah.
with that part anyway.
Absolutely. So it sounds like your faith is a basis to coping with many elements of your type of pain.
Yes.
Whether that's emotional or physical.
Right.
Yeah, fantastic. Maybe you're listening this morning and you're currently in a great deal of pain. That could be, again, a physical or emotional sort of pain that I'm talking. Maybe it feels like you'll never be comfortable ever again. One thing that Carolyn said was don't give up, and I want to echo that again. Don't give up. Don't give up on hope, and don't doubt that God cares,
Yes.
because he does. He loves you and he cares for you. In fact, we are told in Peter 5:7 to give all your worries and cares to God because he does care for you. But we're also told to stay alert. Watch out for the great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Now that is in verse 8. And if we allow pain to get between us and God, we have handed the battle over. We've surrendered and allowed the enemy to do what the enemy does: prowl around and devour. Now, I don't believe that this is exactly as the verse intended, but I can safely say that it does allow us to consider how pain, any type of pain, can impact us. But isn't it great to have people who are living it chronically daily, who are a voice for those who battle with similar struggles, to remind us to not only pray for those who struggle, but also offer hope that the rock of refuge and strength that God is can genuinely be experienced and even celebrated. Thank you for pointing that out this morning, Carolyn. My eldest daughter is speaking in church this morning. Now, irrespective of where others see or feel about women speaking in church, I have to say that I'm solidly proud of her for taking a stand and sharing her love of both history and Christ, and preparing to give the insight and knowledge she has gained through her studies in history some serious context. One day recently, we were discussing the many biblical links she's discovered from the beginning of the Bible that in exploration met up with those experiences in Jesus' time, or even those that are happening in the world today. There are so many beautiful symbolisms that are found in Scripture, and I personally have probably just read over them and not understood their significance. But one that stood out to me the most was the use of sheep's blood as an anti-venom. Now, you guys may not have heard this, but I hadn't, and it was just like, whoa, did you even know that this was a thing? Yes, it was, and it is. In 2005, the ABC reported the sheep's blood provides rattlesnake anti-venom. So when the snake bites, it is the sheep's blood that saves. Whoa, hang on a sec. Haven't we heard that from somewhere else? Guys, if you're getting beaten around and bitten by the snake, if you've been under spiritual attack, guess where your anti-venom can come from? I'm talking spiritually, not literally, although when we're discussing God, that's possible too. Turn to Jesus, the Lamb of all lambs. Turn to him. He'll pull you through whatever pain you're enduring. He'll soften the bite of the snake and ensure the pain that is experienced is only going to make good from the situation unfolding or experienced. Hold on to that truth. You're listening to Rhema CC. I am Lydia Jones, and this right now is Steady by Natural State. Good morning, listeners. I'm Lindy Jones, your Sunday morning host here at Rhema CC. I hope your day is panning out okay so far. If not, keep pushing through. There's plenty of hours to experience yet. The tide can still turn. Today we've been hearing from Carolyn, my special guest for today. Now, I have to mention that when I asked her earlier this week if she'd be comfortable doing this, I did admit that I thought her accent was going to be a huge asset for this morning. Who doesn't love a Southern American accent? Maybe I'm a little biased because I'm married to someone that also has one. But anyway, not the topic of conversation for today. We've been talking this morning about pain, and mainly in regard to physical, but now I'd like to explore a little more the emotional aspect. I can't tell you the amount of times I've experienced the need for someone to really explore what is emotionally happening for them as a counsellor. Sometimes they don't even know the clients that I'm dealing with, that they're experiencing it themselves until suddenly they just get it. Only this week I had someone sit down with me for what was supposed to be a bit of a joke counselling session. But what came of it? Suddenly there was an unspoken pain that surfaced. There were those areas, a little like we spoke of last week, areas that darkness had covered over and a need to protect. The hurt, the pain, it was still there. Years and years down the track, it was still there. And this mock counselling session suddenly turned into a case of, oh, wow, I didn't know this still bothered me. And that is often how these things play out. We don't even realise we still carry the pain around with us. But once we do, what is the responsibility we have then? What should we be doing with the emotional pain? We need to give it to God, and we need to make a choice to let it go. Let go and let God. Have you heard that saying? Let go and let God. Sometimes counselling can help. Sometimes talking about it to those who are important to us can help. Sometimes we might benefit through physical fitness or healthcare or other strategies. It doesn't matter how we work through the pain as long as we do. Or, as we read this morning, the devil who prowls around like a lion ready to devour will fool us into believing we're just too far gone. We're not, and our God is so much more powerful than the devil. So I'm claiming that for all of us here this morning. I'm claiming that as the truth. God breaks through the pain. God uses the pain, yes, but he will not allow us to grieve alone, to be saddened alone, to walk any amount of pain alone. And he will be there step by step as we seek healing. We've just got to ask him for his help and guidance. Can I warn you though, sometimes moving through the pain means we genuinely have to confront the situations that might have harmed or hurt us. Now, several months ago, I was down here at Rhema CC, and I knew I had to make a decision to take a detour on the way home. I knew I had to stop and see someone who was overseeing an organisation, let's just call it that, where our daughter experienced a secondary trauma after her first, the year prior, in a different location. This person wasn't the person in charge at the time things had unfolded, but they were loosely involved. So in a spontaneous decision, somewhat brave on my part, but incredibly uncomfortable too, I decided to stop and ask if I could see them. I was able, and at the time found myself thinking, what on earth am I doing here? God, why am I here? But I knew that it was about me and my healing. I knew it was about forgiveness, about a clean slate, about a need for me to never badmouth again, because I wanted freedom and I didn't want bitterness. So I spoke to this person and told them exactly that. I wanted to start clean. I wanted to not feel bitter every time I saw anything about this organisation or heard others say great things. I wanted to be able to nod and be grateful that their experience was different to ours. Because you know what? We're all human. Not everyone was or will understand us, and they won't always understand how we allow pain to drive or change us. So we need to exercise compassion, and we need to confront pain with forgiveness by demonstrating the fruit of the Spirit, because we, you and I, when we do this, we allow the pain that holds us to die down, and we allow God to heal. Let me ask you this week, what sort of healing do you need? What sort of pain are you still battling? Is your situation beyond your control, or are there things you can be doing to see your pain dwindle or diminish? Leave it with God, but be willing to follow through if he asks you to confront the uncomfortable stuff. He knows the healing that he wants to bring. As I mentioned, now is the time that we here at Rhema CC are starting to focus in on our November appeal, which happens again to be seed time. And we'd love to give you the opportunity to sow a blessing into a family you know who would love to see Jeremy Camp in concert. Do you happen to know someone who's doing it tough or who's gone out of their way to bless others? Here's your chance to bless them. Let us know why you'd like to nominate them and we'll choose the winners. You can select the Lake Macquarie concert, which is at Avondale University, and that's on Friday the 10th of November, or the Sydney concert at Hillsong Convention Centre, and that's on Monday the 13th of November. So if you just head over to our website on rhema.cc and click on the link below the Jeremy Camp graphic to make your nomination, and then on Wednesday the 8th of November, we'll pick the winners and send them their tickets by email. What a truly awesome gift this might be to a family out there who just need to hear that someone has seen them and thinks that they're pretty fantastic. A big thank you again to Carolyn for stepping in at the very last minute to help carry this morning, and for sharing your faith again, that everyday battle with chronic and continuous pain. Your faith is honestly astounding. Guys, have a truly special week. Thanks for putting up with me and my fumbling through. I hope you are able to consider how you might be able to help us as we explore what seed time is to look like. Covering each of you listeners in prayer as we finish up, I pray you really do see Jesus in your everyday. Until next week, I'm Lindy Jones here on Rhema CC, and this is God Can Hear Me by Tate. Have a great one. See you guys.